Deputy Catherine Connolly has 5 minutes.
I'm on my own 5 minutes, yeah. And I welcome the opportunity to contribute on the pre-council statements. And in the 9-page speech, and I welcome the speech and I welcome what's set out in there, it's notable what's absent. And so I have 5 minutes, and I echo what Deputy Howlin had said. It's not sufficient to discuss a 9-page speech and the range of topics that are there. It's also notable for its absence. It doesn't deal with Ethiopia or Tigray, although I understand the Minister for State is going to come back on that. But this is an ongoing conflict for over a year, with 1.7 million people displaced in Tigray alone and thousands outside in the Sudan. Not mentioned, not worthy of a line, except it's going to be dealt with by the junior minister at the end of the debate. Second thing that's not dealt with at all, of course, is Palestine, and I'm going to come back to that. And the third thing that's not looked at all is the TRIPS waiver, which has been mentioned by everyone. But nor has the statement by the unelected President of the EU Commission that mandatory vaccination is on the way and must be considered. I would hope that when the Taoiseach goes over, he will be repeating what he said earlier a few days ago in relation to this, and that he's not in favour of mandatory vaccinations. I make my comments, as always, in the knowledge that 5,788 people have died in this country. 4,688 is the latest figures, 108 in ICU and 492 in hospital. I make those comments because I believe we're facing a very serious public health crisis, and we've been doing so since we recognised that in March, although it was there before that. However, I believe that vaccination is just one part of the overall response, and I've made this clear every time I have spoken. And then we look at the TRIPS waiver. And as far back as a year ago, South Africa and India called for a TRIPS waiver. Now, if we're very interested in vaccination and pushing it, that we get a booster and further boosters, while ignoring the rest of the world, where I understand less than 7% of low-income countries have any vaccination at all. 7% of low-income countries have had vaccination. That's as much. We can pick lots of figures to illustrate our argument. But I think, Minister, you'll have to accept that we've utterly let down the countries outside of rich Ireland and rich Europe, while we keep pushing the thing that we need more and more boosters for the richer countries with the deeper pockets, and it's totally unacceptable. And we've seen many organisations, including Amnesty, calling out to asking us to drop the waiver for a while, even for a while, which would mean that a few pharmaceutical companies couldn't hold a monopoly on production and cost. And that would lead to more production. Now, I have such little time to get this out. I want to say, in terms of vaccination, we've utterly ignored the Menon report, which was done not in the context of COVID, but in the necessity to have some type of redress or compensation scheme for injuries from vaccination. Never looked at it. No discussion whatsoever at what point we will drop the COVID pass, which is utterly discriminatory. No evidence to show it's worked, and it's actually inculcating a hatred rather than bringing everyone on board in a public health crisis. Then I want to look, in the 1.5 minutes I've left, at Palestine. No mention of what the Israeli government is doing in relation to the occupied territories. And I'm really tired standing up here asking, as my colleagues have done, to deal with the Israeli government and what they have done with the designation, amongst many other things, of 6 human rights organisations, 2 of which we fund. And that has gone a step further. And if they want to appeal that designation, they have to stop functioning. And that was by military order. From January to December alone this year, 86 Palestinian children have been killed in the occupied Palestinian territory. Now, as a mother, a female and a TD, I find that totally unacceptable. I find the designation of 6 organisations unacceptable. I find it unacceptable that we continue to express concern, but we do nothing else in relation to Israel. Yet we will highlight the Ukraine, we'll highlight China, and rightly so, but it's extremely selective what we do. The EU Foreign Minister Joseph Borrell said Brussels had not received any convincing evidence from Israel about the terrorism designations, and they were looking for more information. 2 months later, no sign of more information. Simon Coveney, we have asked for, as has the EU, for evidence, haven't got it. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said that their designation as a terrorist organisation is an attack on human rights defenders and so on. And we talk about human rights, and in this nine-page speech we talk about human rights, and yet we make a mockery of language. And I'll just finish on this last sentence. The analysis underpinning the work to date on the strategic compass is that the global security situation is at present marked by growing strategic competition and complex security threats. That's an absolute insult to the English language, but more importantly and significantly, an insult to the democratic process. Thank you.